Welcome, welcome, welcome everyone to Never Alone Live. Ooh, that was a cool sound for that. Never Alone Live. I sounded like we were starting a wrestling match. I am Johnny, and as always, we have Krista, the sober Barbie, and today we are very excited. Very excited. We are starting a new month, June 2026. We are going to be talking all about faith and recovery, which is a couple months ago we talked all about MAT, which is medically assisted treatment, and we talk about all things recovery around here. But we have a very special guest, Jordan Wilson, our friend Jordan Wilson. Jordan, how you doing today, my brother?
Man, I'm blessed. I'm sitting in sunny California. I can't complain.
You can't complain at all. Well, I met you at Faithfluence, which is an event that you put on, and it was a month and a half ago, and I drove 4.5 hours, and my friend Brandy, who probably will be in here, she said, Johnny, you gotta come down to this, and I just got in the car and went down. God said, Johnny, you're going. I got to meet you and your wife. Your wife is so awesome. And let's learn about Jordan. Who is Jordan? What should we know?
Yeah, so 38 years old, living in Owensboro, Kentucky, as the executive director of Friends of Sinners, which is a Christ-centered residential substance abuse recovery program. I believe in the work that we do. We're not like other programs. We're totally self-sustained. We're privately ran. We don't bill insurance. Our goal is to introduce our clients to Jesus, and we believe that sobriety is a byproduct of that. But I've published 2 books. My first book is Jesus is Greater Than Drugs. That's my story, as real and as raw as it gets. And then I published the second book called How to Save a Drug Addict. And that's more in lines of, I want it to be, entertaining, but it's a self-help book kind of. It's really for, moms and dads and brothers and sisters and wives and husbands who love someone and have no clue how to help them. So from what I've been through and from what I've learned over the last 10 years, it's just to help the reader understand an addict and how to help them effectively. Father, husband, I've got 2 young kids. I do a ton of speaking engagements where I travel and share my story. My wife and I founded a ministry called Jesus Ministries. It's a nonprofit that enables me to travel and speak. And we've also been sending my first book, to prisons all around the globe. So, short little bio.
So let's get into the recovery aspect for a minute, if we can. How long have you been sober?
Over 10 years now.
Over 10 years now. What date? What's your sobriety date?
March 27th, 2016 is my sobriety date.
March 27th, 2016. So you just celebrated 10 years, guys, because Krista has 10 years and she'll be 11 years in a few months here.
That's awesome.
So let's learn about, let's go back to, how was your childhood? How were you brought up? Where were you brought up? Where are you from?
I'm from Madisonville, Kentucky, right? Mm-hmm. So about an hour outside of Owensboro. And I was raised in a good Christian household, man. I cannot blame my addiction and my choices on my family or my upbringing whatsoever. My parents were married up until I was, in high school. And they had me and my older brother in church and sports. And, I had a great upbringing, and had the world in front of me, man. I had a full ride to college, and I didn't start doing drugs until, I dabbled when I was a teenager, with alcohol and marijuana and partying, but I got addicted to painkillers when I was about 21 years old, 22 years old, and it really kind of started with a knee injury. I've always lifted weights, and I tore my ACL at the gym, right? And the doctor prescribed me Lortabs, and I'd already been dabbling with Lortabs, like I would take 2 or 3 and feel excellent at work, and I had energy at work. And then when the doctor wrote me my own prescription, it was game over. I started doing three at a time, and then four at a time. And not only would it take the pain from my knee away, it gave me all this energy and I was in a good mood. And then when my script wouldn't run out, I already had connections and could get more, and was doing them daily for about 6 months until the script ran out and I hadn't had any, and I experienced opiate withdrawal for the first time. And it was a feeling that I never wanted to experience again. So I was like, hey, I'm going to avoid this at all costs. And I started doing painkillers around the clock. And, that escalated to where I was taking 20 Lortabs a day. And then I was advancing to Percocets, and then going to patches and just any kind of opiate that I could get. And then it led to methamphetamine, right? Because that was always a drug that I thought, man, I would never do that drug, right? Like I'll smoke weed, I'll do anabolic steroids, I'll drink, I'll trip acid, I'll do all this stuff, but I'm not touching meth, And then, you just lower the standard in life. And the first time I tried meth, that was it, man. That was like my new thing, and I started doing that all the time, and that's what got me started.
Then excuse me, that's wild. The progressiveness of the disease, right? We talk about this all the time, and how we lie to ourselves and we make rules for ourselves. As long as I'm not doing this, I'm fine.
Right.
As long, and these rules, they just go, by the wayside as we go along. As the progression goes down, so do our morals and our ethics and our personal philosophies on how we're supposed to live life. Krista, what do you know about this? You never made any rules for yourself to break them.
I feel like they call it reservations, really, right? Like you're gonna just you're trying to control it, and when you try to control something, it's already got control over you. You know.
Ooh,
When I heard that, that changed a lot.
that's a big one. When I can say that again, when I try to control
Control
something.
something, it's already got control over me. I try to control alcohol, and it already controlled me.
And I'm going to jump over into the comments real quick. Our friend Brandy, Dandy Brandy. I told you she was going to be here. Brandy is our friend from Owensboro. She is a preacher at a church there, and she's the one who invited me down to Faithfluence, and she ran me up to you, and she said, Johnny, you got to meet Jordan. That might be a perfect impersonation, by the way. Okay, so you started on pills, and that progressed to meth, and dude, that's happening all over the place now. And I know that you're in the trenches, and with there's so many fake pills out nowadays. Kids who are taking Adderall thinking that they're just going to be, taking Adderall so they can study longer, are getting, hooked on fentanyl. They don't even know it because these fake pills that are out there. But I digress. I want to get back into the Jordan story. All right. So you got hooked on, you went from pills to meth, and where did that take you?
Oh my goodness. So, I couldn't keep a job because of my addiction, right? And so I started full-time drug dealing. I manufactured a relatively new drug at the time called Spice. We would make 10 pounds every 2 weeks at my house, and that was my life. I made and sold Spice, uh, and I saw a girl who sold meth, right? Like we were seeing each other, and I mean, I was just staying up for days on end, not eating, right? And of course, I graduated from Suboxone, from painkillers to Suboxone, right? Like, so in between the meth, I got on Suboxone and I thought I was getting my life back and I felt good about it. And then I got bored, right? And started doing the meth, and so my life is just unmanageable. And I'm just miserable at this point in my life. Like, I do my Suboxone every day. I'm selling drugs all day. Starting to shoot up meth. And stuff's, when you do that, stuff's getting weird, right? Like I don't know exactly what's going on in my life. I don't know these people that are coming in my house, and I'm just confused all the time. I feel lost all the time. I feel depressed. And it all kind of came to a halt when a police squad busted down my door and raided my house. That was the starting point to my road to recovery.
Okay, so I'm going to jump over to the comments
Yeah.
because Tracy says, "What is spice?"
Yeah. Well, spice is also known as K2, but it was created, I don't know, maybe 20 years ago to be a synthetic cannabis, right? Like people could smoke it. You could buy it at the sex shops and at the hemp stores or whatever you call it. And it was supposed to give you a marijuana buzz and you could pass a drug test. So everybody was into it. And then over time, it got banned and then it got stronger. And so it's chemicals. It's absolute chemicals. There's nothing natural about it. And it's a chemical that you don't even know what is doing long term, but there's a euphoria to it. There's a mental high to it, and it got stronger to it to where it was like an addictive acid. Is really kind of what it became.
Wow. Okay, so an addictive acid.
We
Thank you
did the
very much.
we did the podcast yesterday, and the gentleman that was what his thing was. Mr. Nice Guy, wasn't that what it was called?
And
Johnny?
no more Mr. Nice Guy.
It's wild. It's wild.
Okay, so thank you, Tracy. Thank you for the question. And okay, so now you're started with pills. You're on meth. You're trying to get off meth with Suboxone. Then you go back, and then you're on spice. You're doing all this stuff. I gotta ask you, if coming from a Christian family, where was your family in all this?
They were just praying from the sidelines. They had no clue how to help me. I was the only person in the family who dealt with this. I come from a working class, man. My mom sold houses. My dad was a coal miner who got hurt in the mines and then went back to school and became a physical therapist. My brother was a coal miner. Like everybody in my family, they worked and they went to church and they had no clue how to help me, right? And so my mom, she bought a Celebrate Recovery Bible and started attending a Celebrate Recovery. And I didn't even know it because she wanted to understand what made me tick, right? Like, what's his problem? How come he can't stop? And so they just, again, they just didn't know how to help. And, I'd never been to rehab before I got busted. I didn't even know how to get into rehab. Like, where is a rehab? What is a rehab? And so, yeah, they were just kind of praying on the sidelines.
Okay, so the place got busted and you got a raid, and what happened then? Did you spend time in jail?
Yeah, I was in jail for 3 months. My charges were trafficking and synthetic drugs and possession of anabolic steroids. Because even though I was doing all the drugs, I was still working out. I was working out and trying to build muscle while I was losing all this weight. It was miserable. But anyway, they found some steroids in my house, and so thankfully, back then, this was 2000 and I guess 14. Um, those were both Class A misdemeanors. I think the charges are a little bit higher now, trafficking and synthetics. But so I had to serve 3 months in jail, and then I was when I got out, I was released to Friends of Sinners in Owensboro, Kentucky, where I'm now the executive director from.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you got sober in jail.
Yeah, which was terrible, right? Like that was the worst place in the world to detox, right? You're miserable. You want to look tough. You can't look tough. You stay in the shower. It's just so bad. Yeah.
There's and I mean, I like when we ask these questions, it's always we're always we don't compare, right? But for your story, it's very much like Krista and I, who we both got sober in jail too. Our friend Brandy, she found Jesus in jail, and Krista, go tell Jordan about yours. He's gonna be
Well,
like,
your story is just already so relatable because I come from a family just like that. They didn't know how to help me, and I didn't know anybody sober. I didn't know about AA. I didn't know how to get into any kind of recovery, and I ended up in jail facing 20 years, and that was like my only option to like get out of that charge. And Google wasn't really a good helpful tool back then in 2015, and that was the illicit fentanyl was taking the streets, and my mom just didn't know what to do. And I wish we all knew about Celebrate Recovery back then, because my mom would have jumped headfirst in that. And I work a faith-centered 12-step program now, and there's a lot of mamas who, like, they're not addicts themselves, but they have kids who are struggling that are in this program and getting healing from the hurts and the hangups and all that. So that's powerful, that like she was going the right direction to try to help you, you know.
Yeah.
And it's already so relatable.
Yeah. I think my mom's prayer is what saved my life.
Yeah.
You know, after I got out of jail and went to rehab, I didn't want to change, right? And so I didn't make it through the Friends of Sinners program. I was in there for 4 months. It's a 12-month program, and relapsed. They kicked me out, went back to jail, and that process continued for like a couple years. And my mom, the turning point. Can I tell you the turning point?
Of
Yeah.
course.
We ready for that? So
Yeah.
I was strung out. I was back on meth and a number of things, and I had lost my home right while I was incarcerated, and while I was in and out of rehab. I lost my house. I lost everything, you know. And my mom said that she felt that God wanted her to fast for me. And so, if you don't know what fasting is, it's biblical. It's where people stop eating food and they ask God to do something miraculous, right? To move in a mighty way. And so she stopped eating food and was pleading with God to get me clean. Because I've been in and out of rehab, you know, I've been in and out of jail 10 times. And just it seemed like I was broken. Like everybody else can get sober, I can't get sober, right? Like I'm definitely going to die this way. And so she didn't know what to do. So she stopped eating food and asked God to set me free. And on the 10th day, 10th or 12th day of her not eating a single bite of food, I knocked on her door and said, "Hey, I need some help." And 2 days later, I got saved at a church in Madisonville, and I'd never used drugs since that day, or drank
Oh
since
my
that day.
word.
Yeah. So I believe in fasting, right? I believe in
yeah.
prayer. I believe in Mama's prayers. Man, just hit the throne of God. I truly believe that.
I have the chills.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's incredible. That's incredible.
Right.
You know, and this is the great part about what we do here, right? Krista and I have been doing this for like a year, and we hear so many stories where there's a bunch of trauma and a bunch of kind of rational thoughts about why I drank, why I use drugs, you know. And then there's, hey, I had good upbringing and everything was good. I just kind of like drugs.
Yeah.
But then the fact that, we all have different roads to recovery. That's why we're so stoked about this month and faith-based recovery, because we get a lot of people to go to treatment. I never went to treatment. I did 3-day detox in a jail cell and went to AA, and there's a lot of people that go to church. And I had a pastor friend of mine who went to seminary, and he had a drinking problem. He went to seminary, he became a preacher, and that was it. He never drank again. But everybody's story is so different. Yet we as long as we relate instead of compare, we're good. Okay, so you went. I want to hear about this 2 days. I want to hear about the 2 days between going to mom and getting saved.
Yeah. So I went to mom's house. I knocked on her door, and she could tell that I was strung out, and I was like, "Look, I just need a place to crash." That was all I was looking for, really. The lady that I was staying with just kicked me out. I was out of drugs, out of money. I had nothing. And she's like, "Look, you can stay here for a few days, but you got to go to rehab again." And I was like, "Okay, I need a place to stay, so I'll try it again." And this was actually Good Friday, which is the day we celebrate in America Jesus laying down his life for the world. And I didn't realize that at the time, but I was at her house, and I was so sick. And my mom told me, she said, "I've been praying and fasting for you." I was like, "Wow, okay." And my parents aren't married. My dad called me and said, "Hey, I heard you're at your mom's house. Come to church with me Sunday for Easter." And I was like, "No, I'm sick now. I'm going to be sick on Sunday. I can't do it." And he said, "Well, this Sunday is my birthday." And he was like, "Will you go to church with me for my birthday?" And I was 27 years old. I didn't have a present for my dad. And so I was like, dang, okay, I'll go. And the whole reason that I say that that Sunday is my sobriety date was because I found a piece of a Suboxone in my pocket when I was at my mom's house, and I used that, right? And it didn't help very much. I was still very, very sick. But that Sunday, and I was just at her house sick, in the shower a lot, and just not doing much. But I went to church that Sunday just sick, man, sweating, depressed, scared, like just feeling horrible. And it was a big church. It was probably 500 people there at Victory Church in Madisonville. And man, I don't want nobody to talk to me. I don't want nobody to look at me. Like, just leave me alone. I'm just here for my dad. But the preacher at the end of the service, obviously he's talking about the resurrection of Christ because it is Easter Sunday. But he said this at the end of service, and it was like the one sentence in the human language that could get me to get out of my seat. He said, "Is if there's anybody in this room who's been living without purpose, and you need some purpose in your life, come to this altar, give your life to Jesus, and you'll have purpose." And man, it was like this most euphoric, clear cut message. It was like somebody lit a light in my dark, dark world. And I thought, oh my gosh, that's the peace. That's the peace I've been missing. Because this whole time that I've been in addiction, I was just not down for the Jesus thing, right? I was raised in it. I didn't want Jesus to be Lord of my life. I didn't want to have to read my Bible. I didn't want to have to, I wanted to sleep around. I wanted to drink. I wanted to drug. I wanted to be Lord of my life, right? And so I said, maybe this is it. If that man is telling the truth, and if I give my life to Jesus and I have purpose, I'll do it forever. Because even before addiction took over my life, man, college and personal goals and houses and relationships and money was not satisfying me. I was still very depressed. I felt like, why am I not happy? I'm seeing other people work the same job I got with the same size house as me, with the same size bank accounts as me, and they seem happy. Why am I not happy? And the only time that I was happy was when I was chemically right enhanced, and
Mhm.
that feeling betrayed me every day. So I kept chasing that feeling to feel happy, and so I was like, I'll do this. So it was almost like an out of body experience. I ran to the altar in front of all those people. Didn't want nobody to see me. I ended up running down to the front, and I gave my life to Christ. And I said, I'm going to follow you until the day that I die. And I'm in. I'm going to follow you. And so I made a commitment to read my Bible every single day until I read it all. And I was going to believe it. And I was going to apply it to my life. And I was going to tell other people about it. And so that was it, man. I was a changed man. Now, God's still sovereign, right? Like, I said the prayer, I cried, I knew I was new, I knew that I wasn't going back, but I still went back to my mom's house and detoxed like a mug, right? Like, I still was sick and crying and in the shower and all that stuff. And about 5 days later, we found the Isaiah House in Central Kentucky, a place in the middle of nowhere. Um, and that's what's changed, started everything.
All right, I gotta ask a question. So then, and thank you for that.
Yep.
I was that 2 days. I love that. What was your life before that as far as faith? What was your life with Christ and with religion and with anything before that? When you were running on self-will, because that's what we call it. When we were running on self-will,
Yeah.
what was your faith process in the bad days?
So I could never, ever deny on my worst day in the deepest part of my addiction, I could not deny that there was a God. I knew for a fact that there was a God. And, but I chose to not pursue that relationship in my teenage at about 19. At 19 was like when I was like, you know what? I'm done. I'm 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 not going to identify as a Christian. I'm not going to follow Jesus. I'm just going to do my own thing. So on my worst day, I still knew there was a God. And but I just had no relationship with him. Right. I had said, I'm sure 100 foxhole prayers. And on bad days, I would maybe open my Bible and read it. But man, there was no relationship. And you would never know that I was a Christian. And I probably wouldn't even have identified as one.
I asked this because the progressive disease that we've been talking about, even those with faith, as the disease takes over, their faith gets less and less, right? You know,
Mhm.
the more will I take back myself, the less God's will I'm allowing into my life. And you know, it's just a natural progression. And then as you described your day, the day that you found God again, you know, we talk about the gift of desperation, right? That gift
Mhm.
of desperation has a way of opening our mind to new things, new abilities. And your story, my friend, is just so profound in that fact, the fact that the gift of desperation was there. Hated everything about who I'd become. Here I am at church. Don't know how or why I'm here, but here I am. And the right words were said in an open mind that led you to this calling. And dude, it's so amazing, man. And I hope that anybody who's listening hears that and knows that it can happen to anybody, right?
Oh yeah, it doesn't discriminate. That's for sure. And that was part of my problem when I was messing with the pills, and you know, I would do Xanax and I would do painkillers and I would smoke spice and I would, do whatever before it took over my life because I thought that I was 10 foot tall and bulletproof. I did. Nobody ever schooled me on addiction. I wasn't surrounded by it. People did. Nobody said, "Hey, this is the science behind it." Right? I didn't know that the little chemicals in those little pills would react to my brain chemistry in a certain way that in a short amount of daily use, I would become physically, mentally, and emotionally addicted to these substances. I didn't know. I thought I was 21 years old. I was really muscular on steroids. I had tons of friends. I had plenty of money. People, my family was good. I felt like I got this, right? Like I could never, I will never. That's for the weak. That's for big cities. That's not for people like me, right? I'm from a small town. I'm Jordan Wilson. And so it was taking over my life, and I didn't even know.
That's dude, I'm telling you. Krista, what do you think about this? What do you think about this about Jordan's story so far?
It's like crazy how it's like my life, and I haven't been able to put it to words, and you're putting it to words. Like, I was raised in the church. I always knew God was there. I just didn't know I had to put a relation. I didn't know I had to connect
Mhm.
with him. I thought he's there. That's all I'm getting. That's it. That's
Mhm.
it. But when I was introduced to AA and rehab, and that opened the doors to me get growing a relationship with God. And when I saw God in that book, I was like, okay, I got this part. I can do this part.
Mhm.
And it still took years and years in recovery for me to finally be desperate enough when I thought I was going to lose my husband to addiction. And his sober day was the day I was saved.
Wow.
And we both worked a 12-step program in a faith centered, and it changed our marriage, our life. It changed everything. I want to tell the whole wide world about it. But I always knew God was there. I just didn't know I had to actually like apply things to it.
Yeah.
And, you know,
Yeah.
yeah.
And that's what I
And
think.
I didn't know it. I thought I was invincible too. I, and I'm from a resort island. Like, I'm from an island and it's not here, and I'm normal and I don't have a problem, you know.
Right. Yeah.
I love what you were talking about with I'm a country guy, those are city problems,
Yeah.
that's real deal that people
It
think
is.
way, and
Yeah.
so okay, so back to we're on the timeline, and you went into treatment in the middle of Kentucky.
Mhm.
What was the name of this one? Isaiah House?
It was called the Isaiah House. Yeah.
Isaiah House. And Krista says I'm an old man and that I've got a horrible memory. This is me proving it wrong right now.
There you
He
go.
already
Yeah.
said it though. He already said it. So.
Yeah. So Isaiah House, you go to Isaiah House. What was that like?
It was great. It was a tough program, honestly. They had all the bells and whistles, right? They billed insurance. They had a detox type situation where I did 30 days there, and got counseling, and they were faith based. And so I got church, I got counseling, I had all of it. They did Celebrate Recovery. but the change for me was in my heart, right? That's what made the program effective. I think I could have went anywhere by this point and found a life of sobriety because my heart had changed and my mind had changed. I had changed because of this encounter with Christ. But I mean, this program, I mean, we're doing laps around the building at 6:30 in the morning, right? Like your bed is made military style. You're cleaning your dorms, then you're going to class, and then you're doing work for free. And so it was tough, man, and it was a year-long program, but my experience there was fantastic, and it was because I changed. I was no longer trying to be the cool guy or the tough guy or the drug dealer. I wasn't glorifying anything about my past. I was just there to focus on my relationship with Christ and change my life. And so that turned into a job, right? To where they made me an intern, where I was still a client, but I had staff responsibilities and they paid me. And I graduated their program and started work, and they sent me back to school, and then I started working in public relations for them, and that's kind of where I found my niche, right? Like my career started really popping in public relations. I didn't even know what public relations was, and they put me in it, and I started learning everything about marketing and fundraising and event planning, and uh, I just started my whole life over in Central Kentucky, where I knew stepping into it, I knew no one. And then I was there for 4 years, graduated their program, lived in sober living, met my wife, got married, moved into our own place, and eventually become the public relations manager. And I work directly for the CEO. And like my life is happening, right? And it wasn't until I was there for like 4 years that I felt called to another ministry, which was Friends of Sinners.
And let's dive
Yeah.
into
So I left.
What is Friends of Sinners?
So Friends of Sinners, similar to the Isaiah House, we are a residential recovery program. The difference is we don't bill insurance, right? So we don't have all that red tape to go through. We can take clients from anywhere at any time. We basically get to make our own rules. So our clients will live with us for up to 12 months. We're a 4-phase program before going transitional. And our clients, every one of them are adults who suffer from substance use disorder. We treat both male and female at separate locations in Owensboro, Kentucky. And again, we take clients from all over. But we allow our clients to work after the first 4 weeks of programming. And there's basically a $110 weekly client fee that they have to pay. But we are very involved in Celebrate Recovery. Our clients get professional counseling at no charge to them. And then, of course, other life skills and Bible studies they'll be involved with. But again, our goal is not just long-term sobriety. Our goal is to introduce our clients to Jesus. And through that relationship, they find lasting sobriety with the tools that we add, that they learn along the way.
We put the link for Friends of Sinner in the comments. So anybody who's watching, anybody who is looking for more information on that, please feel free to look up. This program sounds tremendous. How many people can you guys help at one time?
So currently, we can treat 21 men and 12 women, but we are in a renovation process of our men's facility. So when we complete this renovation, we'll move up to 40 men.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And 40 men,
40 men.
40 men, and it's no insurance, it's no costs to get in there. That's tremendous. So you operate off of grants and things like that.
Yeah. Well, we do ask our clients to pay an initial $500 intake fee, which most of the time people don't have that. And so instead of $110 per week client fee, it'll be $130 per week. But again, they're working and they can work essentially wherever they please, as long as it's not going to be dangerous for their sobriety. So if they've got a construction background or they're a plumber or electrician or prefer factory, we will help them get the job that they want, that they feel most comfortable in. So, and we've got clients making better money than me, and I'm the executive director, right? So, so that $110, yeah. So that $110, we also see that as a life skill, right? Like, yeah, absolutely. I mean, if we were to bill their insurance, right, we'd be getting a lot more than that. But we don't want to bend on the Christ-centered aspect. We don't want to have to offer narcotics to our clients. We want church to be mandatory, and so we're not going the insurance route, so that we can continue. So, but to answer your question, Johnny, yes, we rely pretty much solely on the generosity of our community to meet our financial needs.
That is amazing. So our Brandy just put in the comments that our friend Daniel went there, and Daniel, who is a preacher and Brandy's husband, he went to Friends of Sinner, and we know Daniel very well. He's been on here before, and he is a big friend of Never Alone Live and Krista and me personally. So that right there is a shining example of what you guys are doing, because he is changing the world.
Yeah.
So let me ask you. I want to kind of dive into your books. Everything you get a calling for everything. What was the calling for writing these books that you've written?
Yeah. So when I just graduated the Isaiah House. So I was 1 year into my recovery, and I was single, right? No wife, no kids. So on a random night of the week, there was a revival happening 20 minutes out. And so me and a buddy went to this revival in the middle of nowhere in Kentucky, and just young dudes hungry for Jesus, right? And there was probably 200 people there. And the preacher, the evangelist, whoever he was, they flew him in for this revival to speak, and they flew him in from Oregon. So this dude never heard of me, didn't know anything about me. I didn't know anything about him. He calls me out of the crowd. And he's like, "Hey, you come here." And I'm like, "Me?" Like I didn't. I was like, "What?" And so I come forward like, "Oh boy, what is he going to say to me?" And he goes, "Hey, God wants you to write a book." He said, "It's your story, and it's going to help people." And I had never even considered writing a book, right? But looking back in school, man, I was so good at writing, right? And I liked doing it. Short stories and essays, it was just no problem. And so after that word, I was like, man, I'm going to do that, right? Like I believe that was from God, because he didn't know me. He didn't know that I had a gnarly story. And so I sat on it until 2020. Uh, I started bringing my laptop home from work. And when the wife and kids would go to bed, I just opened up a Word document, having no clue what I was doing. And I was just like, man, I'm just going to put my thoughts on this document. And within a year, the book was finished, and we self-published on Amazon. And the book took off, man, right? Like I just wanted to be obedient in writing the book. And I never planned on doing anything with it. Like it was just, hey, I did it. You told me to do it, so I did it. Maybe it'll be a resource for somebody on Amazon looking for a book to help them, to encourage them. And then about a year later, after that, in my prayer time, I felt like God wanted me to donate that book to every prison in the country. And it was a God-sized dream, because my little mind would have thought my state was big enough, right? Like, who am I? I'm not rich. I'm not famous. I don't know what to do. Um, but God was very clear. And so we did our research. We crunched the numbers. We learned that there were 5,051 facilities in the United States, between federal, state, jail, county, juvenile, you name it. There's 5,051 facilities. It was going to take $50,000, and I thought I had a 5-year plan to do it. Well, we posted about it on social media. It went bananas. People from all over the country were sending checks to my house, and we finished the job in 5 months.
Wow.
Yep. So 5 months from conception. One copy of my book is in every single jail and prison in the United States.
That's cool.
That's so cool.
Yeah. I couldn't imagine coming across a book like that.
We are going to put the link.
I've had people.
We're going to put the links to your books in the comments as well. We want people to be able to find you and find your books and find everything that you're that we're talking about today. And that, dude, that's so awesome. That, wow, God works. God works.
Yeah.
That's it. And it's all him, man, because I was like, dude, I work at a nonprofit, right? Like I can't afford $50,000. I don't know how I'm going to do this, but God is so good, man. He brought people from all over to support it and fast, right? And it's not me. It's not my book. It's not that I'm such a good writer. It's just the power of God. God is using it as a tool to reach people. And man, I've had inmates write me letters to friends of sinners saying, dude, I was on
Oh,
suicide watch. Uh, I wanted to die. I read your book. Now I want to live. I gave my life to Christ. As a matter of fact, a man read my book at a prison in Indiana and wrote a letter to Friends of Sinners staff. We got him out of prison in Indiana. He graduated our program. He's now 2 years sober, and he's one of my best friends.
oh my God.
Oh, that is
Yeah.
tremendous.
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
Yep. His name is Adrian Rodriguez. He's now just awesome. Reconnected with his whole family, living for Jesus. He disciples clients at FOS. He's guys mentor. He's just an absolute joy to know this dude.
That's so
Wow.
great. So you know what? Before we go on, I've got to talk about my friend Crystal Riddle is in the comments right now. She owns a company called Recover Out Loud, and right now they are on the West Coast, and they are trying to raise money for intake for 6 people right now. And Crystal, if you could put the link into the comments, it's a tremendous cause, and we just want to get the word out there for you. But Jordan, dude, this is blowing my mind with all this good stuff,
Yeah.
And Adrian Rodriguez, if you're
Yeah.
listening to this, congratulations on your 2 years, and you got a special friend with Jordan. I love it. So
Yeah.
I wanted.
He'll watch this, no doubt.
Oh, good. And then I won't say anything about what Krista was saying about him before the show. That's before this started. So it doesn't even matter anymore, Adrian. I want to talk about your social media. I want to talk about the social media and the presence that you have in social media. And I've been following you now since we met at Faithfluence, and your Faithfluence is all about influencers in the faith community. And I want to talk about how you got started on the influencer stuff and how you got Faithfluence going.
Yeah. So ever since I was like 6 months or a year sober, I had a Facebook, just like any normal person. I had a Facebook, and I would post just regular stuff, right? And then me and a buddy, when we started working in public relations, he was my best friend in rehab. We started making funny videos about sobriety, and like they started popping off, man, and people started liking them, and we had fun making the videos. And so that's kind of what started, my whole influencing thing. And then I learned about TikTok, and I'd never heard of it until about COVID. And when I started on TikTok, man, my platform just blew up, and I decided to open an Instagram, and that blew up. And so I got to about 800,000 followers on TikTok back in 2022, and then they banned me. They permanently banned me from TikTok. They labeled me a violent extremist for my Christian conservative content, and so I decided to run with it. So I made a T-shirt that said "extremist," and I sold the heck out of it. And then and then I decided to go ahead and start a new account. And so now I'm up to like almost a million followers on TikTok, um, a lot on Facebook, a lot on Instagram. But my goal is to, yeah, I still post funny videos. I want to be myself. I want to post silly videos, but mainly I want to talk about Jesus and about recovery and just the things that I believe in, right? And so I've had wild success with it, and that's really why Faithfluence got started. I started working for companies who paid me to post about certain topics, that align with me. And this company invited me to an influencers event in Atlanta, Georgia, a couple years ago. Is it cool if I go ahead and start talking about that?
Yeah.
Okay. Um, and so I knew that this was a secular event, right? There like might be some stuff going on there that I'm not down with, right? Like there might not be any Christians there, but I felt like God was on it, right? Like God was going to bring me to the right people. And so we go to this mansion in Georgia, in Atlanta, and man, it's like a bunch of people that are just not my type of people, man. They're like they're in their own circles. They're, they think they're famous, they think they're rich. And so I'm like, man, this is whack. I don't like this. But then God brought me to Nala Ray and her husband, who may have been the only Christians there. And whoever doesn't know who Nala Ray is, she was a top performer on OnlyFans and was bringing in well over seven figures doing that line of work, for OnlyFans. And she met her husband, who was a follower of Jesus, and he led her to Christ as friends. He led her to Christ. And she decided to leave that $1 million job to follow Jesus. And she eventually married her husband. And now they use their platforms, millions of followers. They use their platforms to share the gospel and to help get other girls out of that line of work and to encourage other people. And so God led me to them and we became friends. And on the drive back, I told my buddy, I said, what if we created a space just like that? It felt like a party, good music, a lot of social activities going on, had stuff going on, but it was Christ centered and it was to connect kingdom people, right? It was to connect, people who post on social media. Like if you do podcasts, I want you to meet the other 10 podcasters that I got here. If you do music, I want you to meet the other musicians. Or if you're just, an influencer and you want to learn about influencing and you want to learn how to monetize and you want to learn how to create good content. So Faithfluence was born, man. Faith and influence. So we came up with Faithfluence, and that was my goal, man. To have a sick venue, to have good music, and for to have a gospel presentation for people to get saved, and then for other kingdom people to meet other kingdom people, and that's what it was.
And that's exactly what it was. And it was so, I'm telling you, being there, being in person at this phenomenal venue, hearing the music, feeling the presence of God in there with some of the people that you had talking, meeting Nala, meeting Jordan. And I had a great conversation with Jordan afterwards. And just an extraordinary person. And and you brought together all these influencers, and just it was so cool. I was and now I'm really making Krista jealous, because Krista was going to be there too, but she couldn't make it. And Krista, what do you think about it? Because Krista is an influencer. Krista is so big on all the social. She's created a community of people around her that's so beautiful. Krista, what do you think about all this that Jordan is building?
I love it. Because my faith journey started a little over 2 years ago, and God told me, start talking about me, because it was all recovery stuff. It was, I'm an alcoholic. My name's Krista, and I'm an alcoholic. And those would go viral, super viral, because TikTok and these apps love sad and they love depressing stuff. So like that stuff was taking off. But through my journey, I'm not an alcoholic anymore. I'm a new creation. And he said, talk about me. And I did. And my account started getting bigger and bigger. And I'm still in the process of like figuring out that balance of, I'm in a transition, because it was a lot of secular recovery stuff, but now I'm on my faith journey. And so it's kind of vibing that way. And I love that you've created that, because that's where I would, if I was to go to an event like that, I would want to migrate towards the Jesus people, and just be like that. And I had the honor of meeting Holy Beards, because he's a national ambassador for Recovery Alive, where I am too. That's the program I work. And I met him a few years ago. So I've been watching him a lot too through the last few years as well. And he was a speaker at your event. And I was very jealous I didn't get to go. but I definitely want to go to the next one.
Yeah.
But I love it, and you're hearing how you are obedient and you're listening to him and doing it, and it's really cool, and things are like happening because of it, and it's proof. It's cool.
Yeah,
I'm
thank
here
you.
for it.
Yeah.
And you have another Faithfluence
Solid.
event coming up in a few months, right?
Yeah.
Can you give us
Yeah,
the
on
details on that?
September 12th. Yeah, so my friend Amy, she's big time on social media too. She goes by Amy Elohim. Uh, but she helped me MC the event. She was very big in helping me put the event on here in Owensboro. And she said at the end of it, she was like, "That was so awesome." She said, "I want to do it again." And she said, "I've got a venue in Pennsylvania that would be perfect for this." So I said, let's ride, let's do it. And so we landed on September 12th. We're calling it Faithfluence 2.0. We've got many of the same speakers. We've got two of the same musicians. And I just booked another musician who goes on social media by Nameless Servant. This dude is fire. His music is fire. I don't even know what genre it would be. It's something different, but it punches me right in the chest when I listen to it. And I just got off a half an hour phone call with him. We just booked him. And we've got Recovery Mike coming to speak. If you don't know him, you definitely need to follow Recovery Mike. But we got many of the same people that were involved with it last time. I wanted all of them, but of course, you know how it is. Not all of them can make it, but it's going to be hopefully just like the last Faithfluence, and you know, creating kingdom, connections. You know, putting influencers in a space to learn, glorifying God, having fun. Like we're gonna just do it again, September 12th.
We gotta go, Johnny. We gotta go, and we know Recovery Mike. He's
We,
been here.
we,
Yeah.
He's been
Recovery
here
Mike
on a
has my
Wednesday.
Recovery
Yeah,
Mike has
good.
been here a few times with us. Recovery Mike is a friend of ours, and we actually had an
Good.
event in Charleston that I'm telling you, you want to talk about God working. One day woke up and said, because it was after this TikTok community had really started thriving, and I was like, we need to get this group together. And next thing you know, we got Freedom Fest, and we wound up with a couple hundred people in Charleston January of this past year. And I was like, where did that come from? All God. And so it's we see exactly what you're doing. And when God gives you a calling and you take that call, it's you never know what's going to happen. So before we're gonna get ready and close up here in a few minutes, but I want to know, what's the future look like, Jordan? What do you want out of Faithfluence? What do you want for your social medias? Do you got any other books on the horizon? Let's what do you got in the next few years?
Yeah, so man, my dream would be to do Faithfluence full time, right? Like I don't know how. I'm putting it in God's hands. But that's orchestrating that thing it could be a full-time job. And so to host a couple of Faithfluences every year, and for it to be a big deal, right? For it to be like as big as the other stuff that you see going on. I would love for that to be the case. I don't know. I'm still, obviously very involved with Friends of Sinners as their executive director, and I'm going to stay with them until God calls me on to the next one. I'm going to serve that ministry to the best of my ability. But my heart is with evangelism, right? My heart is to speak, share my story or share the gospel presentation and to see people get saved. That's where my heart is. So I don't know, man. To answer your question, I don't know. I'm taking it one day at a time, right? I'm letting the Lord lead me. I know He's going to be in it. And I do feel as if there will be more books. I've had a word spoken over me that I need to continue writing. I'm just letting God lead me to what exactly that book is, what the next book is. But I've met with different producers who want to turn my first book into a feature film because it's wild enough to be one. The stuff that God delivered me from, the lifestyle I was living is would definitely be worth a watch. So we'll see about that happening in the future too.
Jordan, that's amazing. Krista, how excited are you that we started this month off with Jordan?
So good. So good. And I know so many people can relate. If I can, I just can only think about, and then the amount of people who are in jail and prison reading that book. Like, I read a lot in jail. And if I found a book like that, my journey would have started a lot sooner. But I am where I am for a reason, but it's beautiful.
Well, Jordan, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for coming on here today and talking with us and sharing vulnerably about your life. And we if anything we can do to help you and getting your message out, please feel free. We are fortunate that we've made friends with lots of influencers over the last year, and we love what you're doing, and we want to be a part of it. And just again, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for inviting me. Thanks for what you guys do, and I hope to see y'all on September 12th.
Yes.
You never can tell, Chris. Krista might be writing a book. You never can tell. Now you might have motivated her.
Ooh.
She's gonna write a book called "How to Make Fun of Bald Guys," and she's so good at it.
Well, there you go.
Funny. Horrible.
Oh,
thank you, Jordan.
Thank you, Jordan. Thank you. And thank you, everybody, for watching and tuning in. Everybody, make sure they go follow Jordan, follow Faithfluence, follow the stuff that he's doing. Because not only is your stuff extremely educational, you're funny out there. And I really enjoy following all the stuff that you got going on. So thank you. And we'll see everybody next week. And next week is Holy Beards, I believe, right, Krista? Yeah. So next week, we're going to have Holy Beards on here, and we're going to continue this faith-based recovery conversation for the entire month of June. So thank you, and we'll see you next week.